What's going on YouTube? This Texans Takeover here, back with another video, and the Houston Texans are back this week. Thursday night, August 13th, the Houston Texans take on the Chargers in their first preseason game. Dominique Ryans has already made it clear that a select group of starters won't play much at all. So this preseason opener and this preview is basically just another training camp practice with pads on against an opposition team. The real story, though, in this game is the position battles that are still wide open. In this video, I'm going to break down the biggest ones surrounding the Houston Texans right now, and that's Keylan Rutledge's battle to lock down the starting center job, the wide receiver depth, and bubble spots behind the top guys like Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll. The running back depth competition between Noah Whittington and Jawhar Jordan, knowing that Jawhar Jordan is hurt. The tight end battle for the number 3 role, the number 4 role between Cade Stover, Brevin Jordan, who's not healthy right now, and then whoever wins it between number 2 and 3 between Foster Moreau and Marlon Klein. Plus, the undrafted and bubble players still fighting for a 53-man roster spot, such as Collin Wright. These are the fights that will decide who makes the team, so let's just jump straight into them. We're going to start with one of the biggest offensive line stories for the Houston Texans out of training camp, and that is the center battle between Jake Andrews and first-round pick Keylan Rutledge. Jake Andrews, throughout the offseason, was regarded as the center one because he started 16 regular season games in both playoff games last year. He knew the offense, he had chemistry with C.J. Stroud, and for most of the offseason, he was viewed as a safe option. Then the Texans spent a first-round pick, 26th overall, trading up with the Buffalo Bills to jump the San Francisco 49ers on Keylan Rutledge, a guy who almost exclusively played right guard in college at Georgia Tech. But the Texans immediately began working him in at center, and the competition was on. And what we've seen over the last 2 weeks is Keylan Rutledge winning that job. He's beginning the first team snaps, and coaches keep using the same words to describe him: tough, nasty, accountable, and aggressive. Offensive coordinator Nick Caley said he's getting better every day, and Dominique Ryans has highlighted his intensity and his finishing ability. And yesterday, the Houston Texans released its first unofficial depth chart of the year. Keylan Rutledge is listed as the starting center, with Jake Andrews now as the backup. In my opinion, that's a big statement. The Texans are trusting a rookie who's still learning the center position, the snaps, the calls, the protection adjustments, over a proven veteran. So for Thursday night against the Chargers, I think this is one of the clearest things to watch if Keylan Rutledge does play. He is expected to play a good amount of snaps as one of the rookie starters, in my opinion, throughout the first quarter. Watch his shotgun snaps to Stroud, Mills, Mertz, whoever's in the game. Watch how he handles communication and the first-level movement. Watch whether the physicality and the nastiness that the coaches love shows up in his game action in the NFL. If he looks solid, in my opinion, the job is locked up for week 1. If he has some growing pains, Andrew's still right there as a safety net. But right now, in my opinion, this battle is almost over. Keylan Rutledge has won the starting center job. It is his to lose. And that's a huge development for this offensive line and for C.J. Stroud's protection headed into the season. The Texans did draft Keylan Rutledge in the first round specifically to upgrade that interior, and so far he's delivered throughout training camp. Andrews is still a solid veteran backup, but the job is for the rookie to lose. Thursday night is the first real test for Rutledge. If Rutledge handles the snaps, the communication, and the physicality the way he has in camp, this is no longer a competition in my opinion. It's just the next step in him locking down the middle of the line for the next several years. Next up is the wide receiver room, and this one is all about the depth in the final roster spots, in my opinion. Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, and Xavier Hutchinson are locked in at the top, but after that, it gets really interesting. Tank Dell is the biggest story. He's finally participating in team drills after missing all of last season with that major knee injury from 2024. He made his first catches in practice this week, and it looks like he's progressing, but in my opinion, the Houston Texans are still being very careful with him, and his availability for week 1 is still a question mark. I'd predict that he doesn't play, and that directly affects how many other receivers they can keep. It becomes a real fight for the last 2 spots, considering you already have 4 receivers on there, and the Texans like to keep around 6 to 7 receivers at a time. Justin Watson is the veteran receiver in the mix. He's not going to light up the stat sheet, but he does bring very good special teams value and reliability, which always matters when you're deciding the 53. But then there's the guy who's turning the most heads right now, and that is 6th-round rookie Lewis Bond. Dominique Ryans has already called out Lewis Bond's wild plays. He's making contested catches, winning on third downs in training camp, and looking polished for a late-round pick. Bond has climbed the depth chart fast and is putting real pressure on the guys ahead of him. Then you have the UDFAs that are kind of fighting for their lives right now, especially Daniel Sobkowitz. The Illinois State product has the size, the hands, and the production from college, in my opinion, and he's shown up in drills and is one of those guys who can kind of force his way onto the practice squad or even on the 53 if he continues to make plays throughout training camp and preseason. Thursday night against the Chargers is huge for this receiving group. With the starters limited, Bond, Watson, Sobkowitz, and the other bubble receivers are going to get a ton of snaps, and this is kind of their chance to separate themselves from the rest of the pack. If Bond continues what he's been doing in camp, he has a real shot to stick to this 53-man roster. If Dell's return is slower than expected, that opens the door even wider. This is one of the most competitive position battles on the roster right now, and the preseason opener will tell us a lot about who makes it. Other than Xavier Hutchinson, Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, and Jalen Noel, I don't think anyone's safe, and that includes Tank Dell. With the injury history he has, if the other receivers prove to be more reliable targets than him, prove to be quicker than him, stronger than him, more durable than him, then maybe you could see Tank Dell potentially not make this roster next season. Maybe Lewis Bond doesn't make this roster next season, and he gets picked up to another team because of the special teams value of Justin Watson. We don't really know what's going to happen with this receiver room. I don't think any of the UDFAs really have a chance to make this roster other than Sobkowitz or Josh Kelly, who's been improving in camp pretty drastically as well. But we'll see what this group has in store. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens throughout training camp. I expect a couple to show out and really remove themselves from the pack to make sure that they ensure a roster spot with the other 52 members of the team that they'd be with. Now let's stay on the offensive side of the ball and talk about this running back room and the battle for the final spots behind David Montgomery and Woody Marks. Montgomery is the clear lead back, and then Marks is going to be locked in as that complimentary guy, and that's not going to change throughout preseason. But the real fight, in my opinion, is for that RB3 spot. Jawhar Jordan came into camp, in my opinion, as the favorite for that third back role. He had a strong start, showed the same burst and vision that got him a 100-yard game late last season against the Raiders, I want to say, or the Cardinals, and looked like he was solidifying the job. But he suffered a hip flexor strain last week and is expected to miss roughly 2 weeks, I believe I saw, and that almost certainly rules him out of Thursday's game against the Chargers. It's not a long-term issue, but the timing is pretty bad because these preseason stats matter for guys buried in the depth chart. And in my opinion, that opens the door wide open for Noah Whittington. The undrafted free agent out of Oregon has quietly been one of the more improved players throughout camp. He's stacking solid runs, showing good vision and toughness between the tackles, and making the most out of every opportunity while Jordan is sidelined. D'Amico Ryans has already pointed out that undrafted guys have a tough hill to climb and that preseason games are where they really get to prove themselves. So in my opinion, Thursday is a massive opportunity for Noah Whittington. If he can produce with the extra carries, he puts real pressure on Jawhar Jordan for the RB3 job and makes the coaches think twice about that final cut. Jordan still has the edge and experience when healthy, but right now Whittington has the reps and the momentum. Watch how Noah Whittington handles that workload Thursday. This is one of those classic training camp depth battles that can quickly shift with an injury. And the Chargers game will tell us a lot about who ends up on that 53-man roster. Finally, we have to talk about the true bubble players, the guys fighting for the last few spots on the 53-man roster. These are the undrafted free agents and depth pieces who don't get a ton of first or second team reps in practice. Thursday night against the Chargers is their stage, in my opinion. D'Amico Ryans has already said he's excited to see the players on the back end of the roster perform in a real game environment. This is where careers get made or end. The biggest name right now is undoubtedly undrafted cornerback Collin Wright. The Stanford product and local Manville kid has been one of the biggest surprises of camp. He's a ball magnet, picking off CJ Stroud, making plays in 1-on-1, 7-on-7, and team drills almost every single day. Coaches and teammates are raving about him. If he keeps this up, he's forcing his way onto the roster or at least a strong practice squad hold. Keep an eye on Brandon Codrington and Alijah Huzzie in the secondary as well. Both are fighting for those final defensive back spots behind the locked-in starters. Special teams will be huge for them. Alijah Huzzie currently is that second nickel behind Jalen Petrie when he's not able to practice, and Brandon Codrington is someone who has showed out as a returner. On the defensive line and edge, Dominique Robinson and Dylan Horton are competing for rotational snaps to secure their spots on the 53-man roster. With the starters limited Thursday, both will get opportunities to show they belong in the rotation behind Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, and Clowney. Don't sleep on the special teams bubble either. Players who can contribute on coverage units or as returners often sneak onto the 53, even if their offensive or defensive roles are limited. Watch who's flying around on those units on Thursday. And circling back to some of the offensive bubble names we've already touched on, guys like Daniel Sobkowitz, Jared Wayne, and a couple other undrafted receivers still have a shot if they make plays with the extended opportunities. Thursday is critical for all of them. With the starters sitting, these bubble players will get extended snaps. Watch Collin Wright closely, but expand your watch list to Codrington, Huzzie, Dominique Robinson, Dylan Horton, and the special teams contributors. Anyone who makes it impossible for the coaches to cut them has a real chance on this loaded Texans roster, and that's how you force your way onto the team. Let me know what y'all think about these battles down in the comment section below. Let me know who you think's going to win them. Let me know if there's a sleeper at that position you'd actually prefer over any of these players down in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and make sure you keep an eye on all these players as they come into the preseason, as they have excelled throughout training camp, and that is why their names are being listed here. But thanks again so much for watching. Again, if you did enjoy, please be sure to like, subscribe. And as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Thanks again. Peace.